Get ready because it's time to turn up the volume and hit the road with another powerful episode of Truckers Voices. Join us tonight as we bring you real stories, real conversations, and real voices from the heart of the trucking industry. From the highways to the home front, we're shining a spotlight on the men and women who keep America moving. Before we get rolling, we want to give a special shout out to Reese Across America Radio. You can find them at reaseacrossamerica.org/radio. You can also listen to them anytime on the iHeartRadio app, as well as the Odyssey app and the TuneIn app. Just search the keyword Reese Across America and stay connected to the mission that honors our heroes and supports our nation's drivers. So buckle up, invite a friend, and get ready for a great conversation. This is Truckers Voices. The host, Tim Taylor, and my co-host is Steve Brand. So let's get ready to roll. Opinions expressed on Truckers Voices are those of the host and the guest and do not reflect the views of any employers, affiliates, or organizations for informational and entertainment purposes only. Well, good day, everybody. Hope everybody's doing good out there and that you're out there trucking and doing the things that you do to keep America moving forward. I appreciate everything that you do day in, day out. And another big shout out to Reese Across America Radio. You can find Truckers Voices there every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And so y'all go check out Reese Across America Radio. And they're on iHeartRadio, the Odyssey app, and the TuneIn app. So y'all go check out Reese Across America Radio. We got a good show lined up for you and for us. It's a good show, not just for you, but for us. And we want to say thank you to our listening. Get out there, it helps those algorithms out, and it just pushes out to more and more people out there in radio land. But you know, with that said, I'm going to bring my old buddy Steve Brand in here, and we're going to get right on in to the show there. So everybody, Mr. Steve Brand. Steve, I was looking for the right button to bring you in on, but I figured I wouldn't do it then.
It's all good, man. How you doing, Tim? How's everybody doing out there in Trucker Voices podcast land?
Steve, how's your day going so far?
So far, so good. So far, so good. And hey, we ain't got nothing to complain about. You know, if we did, so what?
Yep.
And his grandpa always used to say, hey, every day on this side of the dirt's going to be a good day.
Yeah, Steve, I see you wearing a different hat today. So what's going on with the hat? Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, you know, if you want the truth, I went off and left my Trucker Voices hat there in the motel in Fargo. And well, I got my pen back, but I didn't get the hat back. So I'm advertising for Patrick Laurel. I'm giving our sponsor a little heads up there.
There you go, Patrick Laurel. Y'all go look out Patrick Laurel on Bandcamp and search his name or Fulton County Old Country Show. He's got some good truck driving music over there for sure.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. He's a good man.
And, well, Steve, speaking of another good man, we got a great guest that's fixing to join us. And, you know, Mr. Nate McCarty. He's a true professional in all the sense of the word for sure.
Oh, yes. You know, the sad part about it, Nate and I have never got to work an event together, but he's picked a truck up in Dayton, and I picked him up, got him to the truck. One time we had to offload some stuff from one trailer to another. And man, you know, great guy.
Well, let's not belabor this any longer. Let's bring Nate in here and just jump right on into the podcast. So we're going to bring him in on our champion song here.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, everybody. Nate McCarty. Thank you, Nate, for coming on, man.
If I can change, you can change. We can all change. Adrian! Hey, man, I've been looking forward to doing that. Every time you play that champion song, Rocky IV, baby.
There you go, buddy. There you go. Rocky IV. That's right, for sure. Nate, thank you for taking the time to come on Truckers Voices and just getting into it with us. Hey, I heard your podcast with Elizabeth Barna, man. What a great podcast.
Yeah, it was so nice to visit with Elizabeth and catch up with her, but just being able to share that experience on the escort to Arlington, and my military background, and my background in this industry that we all love. So yeah, I really enjoyed having the opportunity to visit with her.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always good to visit with EB for sure. Nice shirt you're wearing there, supporting the trucker.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
thank you guys for having me on. It's I'm looking forward to visiting with you guys too, and just knowing you guys as well as I do. I've been wanting to do this for a long time.
I know we just never could get our schedules together, but thank you for coming on and carving out time. Hey, before I'm going to let Steve start out with the questions there, but I'm just going to give you a warning. This hour will go by really fast.
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
Yes, big time. Well, Nate, appreciate you coming on, buddy, and good seeing you again. And
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in the trucking industry.
All right. Well, I'm a Colorado native. I was born and raised in northern Colorado, so I live in Greeley. It's halfway between Denver and Cheyenne, Wyoming. So I've worked out of Denver most of my career. So I met I married my high school sweetheart, Tiffany. I met her when I was in junior high, when I was in ninth grade. So yeah, she's been putting up with me for a long time. We have two sons, Tate and Tanner. They're 22 and 28 years old now. So my son Tate just got married this last September. So and I have a new daughter-in-law, Leslie. So she's like the daughter that we always wanted. So our family's quickly growing, and things are going well. I've been in the industry for 34 years now, and a year after I got into trucking, Tiffany and I got married. So we're gonna have our 33rd anniversary this August.
Well, congratulations to you two, and congratulations to your son and gaining a daughter-in-law. That's
Yeah.
nice. Yeah. What inspired you to become a professional truck driver?
Well, I didn't really come from a trucking family. So my dad was an Oklahoma farm kid that he didn't want to get into farming. His brother ended up doing that. So my dad went to Oklahoma State Tech to be a diesel tech. So he got hired from Halliburton right out of college, and my dad was a diesel tech for over 30 years. So I kind of grew up around the industry, and my dad worked for Cummins for 28 years, and even though he wasn't supposed to do this, he always had a second and third job. So he had a job where he kind of moonlighted at a Thermo King dealership, and so nights and weekends he would take me and my brother to work with him, and he worked on the old Cummins fuel pumps, and me and my brother learned how to tear them down, and my brother actually learned how to put them back together and run them on the dyno. And so I was more interested in playing in the trucks. So kind of going back to the time when we were kids, and just being a fan of your guys' show, hearing Tim Melody and Dave Schroeder talk about being on their hands and knees playing with trucks as a kid. So I just wanted to share something with you guys here. So I have my original assigned tractor. This is about a 1974 Tonka. So you can see this thing. It's a little worse for wear. My dad had to spot weld the bed back on this thing, and it has no cab on it. I wore the wheels completely off of it. So I used to put my hands on both sides of this bed and drive this thing. So it's
right.
It's like the Joe Diffie song. I did my first 1,000,000 miles with this truck right here. So on my hands and knees, I wore this thing completely out. So much to Tiffany's dismay, I'm a bit of a pack rat. So I have my original assigned truck, my Tonka. So when I was a little boy, I wanted to be a truck driver, and I kind of got away from that over the years in school. And so when I got into junior high and high school, football was everything to me. I love playing football, and I wanted to play college football, but you guys have both met me, and you can see that I just don't have the size for it. so kind of that crucial time in your life when you're getting out of high school, and I wanted to go to college. I knew that. So just trying to make a decision on what I wanted to do. I made the decision to be a citizen soldier, join the National Guard, and that way it would afford me the opportunity to go to school and be able to serve at the same time. So um, I was actually looking to get a career in law enforcement. So I was in a military police battalion in Army Signal to begin with, and then I transitioned my military occupational specialty to military police. So
Okay.
I got in an MP company later on, and that's originally what I wanted to do. But I had my family and Tiffany's family trying to steer me away from law enforcement, and the more I learned about it as a criminal justice major, I decided maybe I wasn't the right kind of person for it. At the same time, I I gained a tremendous amount of respect for our people in law enforcement because I served with a lot of people that were police officers, sheriff's deputies, state patrolmen.
Right.
So Tiffany's uncle actually helped me get my first driving job. So I kind of got steered back to the trucking industry, and he helped me get my first job for a dairy foods company, driving a little straight truck. And my boss Tom Weber, he took a chance on a 19-year-old with no CDL. I used one of their trucks to get my Class B, and that's how I got into the food service side of the industry.
All right.
So I kind of got steered back into the trucking industry, and I kind of regained that love that I had for it when I was a little boy, and yeah, that's kind of how things got started for me in this industry.
Okay. Now I got a question about your first assigned unit there. I had one myself. How many times did you put one knee in the bed and just kick the other leg up so you could freewheel, and then one day you discover your knee is too big to fit in the bed, and you go?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we're on the same page.
Yeah, I wish I could find the picture, but my mom has a picture of me actually sitting in the bed of that thing when it was new, back when it was original colors before it got painted red. And that was
Right.
another thing my dad did for me. He took it in and sandblasted it and repainted it. Man, I just wore that thing out. So,
Well,
but I was cleaning that thing up. It was underneath my stairs, and I dug it out and cleaned it up. I'm like, no wonder why my back hurts all the time. All that bending over and driving that thing on both sides of that bed.
exactly. Well, if you don't mind, tell us who you work for now and what that experience has been like.
Okay, I drive for ABF Freight now. I've been there a little over 22 years. I just had my 22-year anniversary with ABF. So
Congratulations.
before that, I was with Shamrock Foods Company. So, like I said, I was on the food service side of the industry for 12 years before I got hired by ABF.
Okay, so you got what, 34 years behind the wheel?
Yes, sir.
All right, all right. What do you enjoy most about being a professional driver?
Well, like a lot of us, I don't think we were built to work out of a cubicle. And I had a job where I worked for Sears Roebuck and Company. When I was in high school, one of my teachers got me a job installing and repairing sprinkler systems. So I did that high school and going to college. But in the wintertime, when I needed to work, I worked for Sears. And but just I found out that I didn't really like working indoors all that much, being in the same place all the time. So I like being out, and I love the independence of it. Just like most of us, we get to see the best sunrises and sunsets, and well, that picture view that we get to enjoy from our office window is just the best. You guys agree?
I totally agree. And for 4 years when I was going through high school and everything, I was working in a parts store there in my hometown there in Missouri. And I loved it because I got a chance to go outside, help people, work with people, and the semis come in. And it's all about the semis, man. I make hydraulic hoses, sell them chicken lights and everything else. But so I know what you're saying about staying in a cubicle. I can't handle that. But what's some of the biggest changes you've seen in the trucking industry since you started?
Probably the technology involved in the just the upgrades and equipment. Just the trucks have gotten so much more comfortable and easier to drive. And I'm fortunate enough that I came into the industry in '92, so I never got to drive the old two-stick transmissions or anything that difficult. But yeah, just I've always had power steering, and luckily I've had pretty decent equipment. I think the first truck I drove was a '91 International straight truck, so
Right.
nothing too old that I had to deal with, but just seeing technology come along with the electronic logs and the safety technologies that we have now. It's just that's really come along. And and seen a little bit of change in the drivers, and just how the old school guys, the way that they used to dress, it's changed a little bit, and you know, um, I think the professionalism is still there, and
Right.
so just I think technology is probably the biggest changes that I've seen.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm just going to go back. So you don't remember the old cracker box cab over trucks when ABF had them, and the big 3-foot steering wheel when you had to literally stand up out of the seat to turn the wheel if you did it all the
Oh,
way.
there's a video out there on YouTube where a guy restores old cracker boxes, and one of them he did up an ABF livery, so it looks like an old ABF truck, but just
Right.
I think it's got like an old 318 Detroit in it, and it's like, man, I love the sound of those old trucks, and
Oh,
never
yeah.
got to drive them, but like I said, when I was a kid, just going back to going to work with my dad, that's all they had back then was mainly cab overs, but
Right.
yeah, I think the first time I rode in a truck, it was an old 318 Detroit, just making all kinds of noise, screaming down the road, not really going anywhere. They made more noise than
Yeah.
but yeah, just never got the pleasure of driving an old cracker box.
They nicknamed him the Screaming Detroit. You pull into the fuel aisle and said, fill it up with the oil and check the fuel. But I think Tim's got a few questions. Are you there? I appreciate it.
Now, I want to jump into your military service, and just let's talk about that a little bit. So, thank you for your service for sure.
Yeah.
And can you tell us about your military background?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for your support. I struggle with a long time how to respond to that, because I've always been a little bit humbled by that when people thank me for my service, because I think, like most people, you enlist for a lot of different reasons, but you come in and you do what you were trained to do. But Reese Across America, every year they have a different motto for Reese Across America Day. But one of the years it was um, be an American worth fighting for. And so I like to respond to people with that and tell them, thank you for being the kind of American we're serving for. So both of you guys, just thank you for being the kinds of Americans we're serving for. So I enlisted halfway through my senior year in high school, and I got bumped up a grade when I was younger, not because I'm smarter or anything like that. I was just kind of right on that age cutoff where I was 17 years old when I graduated from high school. So my mom and dad had to sign for me to enlist. And I was also 17 years old when I graduated from basic training. So I was pretty young getting into it. And that was 1989 when I enlisted. 4 days after graduating from high school, I went to basic training. My last week of basic training, Iraq invaded Kuwait. So I heard a couple drill sergeants. Now we were out on bivouac out in the field, and I knew about Iraq and Iran from the 10-year war that they had, but never heard of Kuwait before. Didn't know where it was at. So when I went into our Army Signal School at Fort Gordon, Georgia, that's when the buildup during Desert Shield was going on. And so I was a teletype operator to begin with. That's when I was at Fort Gordon. So I came home from Army Signal School, and 3 months after that, I got deployed for Desert Storm. So within a year of my mom and dad signing for me to enlist, I was being deployed. So never really thought about that much until I became a parent myself. Just how difficult that was probably was for my parents. It's like, oh my gosh, we let this happen, and now our son's getting deployed. So I got deployed for Desert Storm in January of 1991, and I got home in June that year. So I was deployed for about 6 months, and so I was in the Colorado Army National Guard for 6 years. So in December of 95, I decided to get out, and I'd already gotten into the trucking industry by then. So I was driving and serving at the same time, and I never did get deployed again. So you probably remember during the early 90s, there was a lot of drawbacks after Desert Storm. And so I had the opportunity to go to a signal company when they stood down the battalion headquarters I was in. And so I opted to go to MP school, and then that's when I got into a military police company after that. So I did 6 years and decided to get out, and I'd already been trucking by then. So just kind of went from there when I decided on a career in the trucking industry.
So yeah, that kind of leads in, segues into my next question. So how did your military experience kind of, prepare you for a career in trucking?
So people that served are probably going to laugh at this, but you know, Steve, you worked for a truckload carrier before you came to American Freightways, but hurry up and wait. That's you do a lot of that in the military, so that transitions nicely into the trucking industry when you're waiting at a shipper or a receiver. You hurry to get there, and then you spend a lot of time waiting. And probably another thing I learned is out of sight, out of mind. If you don't see me, you're not thinking about me. So you stay busy, and you make sure your manager doesn't see you very often. They leave you alone. You do your job. So a couple nice transitions that translate nicely to the trucking industry.
Yeah, for sure. And that kind of reminds me, if I ever talk to my FSA, which is my field safety advisor here, I always say, I don't call you a lot, but when I do call you, it's important. So I said, I really don't want to talk to you. But anyway, so is there any leadership lessons that you learned from the military that you can still apply to what you do today?
So I never really served in a leadership position, and people that serve will know what I'm talking about, especially the Army. I was in the E4 Mafia when I got out. I was a specialist, so I never quite got to that next level to where I was a NCO in the Army. But just leadership, when I think about it, I've had a lot of really good examples of what leadership is. So even in the trucking industry, I've never been in much of a leadership position, but that's one of the things that I've learned that I've always tried to do is lead by example. Just try to be a good example for my peers, people that are coming into the industry, younger drivers that are coming in. Luckily, I've had a chance to mentor a lot of our drivers. ABF got involved in a program a few years ago called the Teamsters Military Assistance Program called TMAP.
Hmm.
So soldiers that were transitioning, it started at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and then we had schools at Fort Carson, Colorado, and Fort Riley, Kansas. So drivers transitioning out of the Army would have an opportunity to come work for ABF. So I wasn't a trainer at any of our schools, but when those soldiers would come to work at my service center, I had a chance to mentor those soldiers. So that's always been huge for me because I've had so many good mentors in the trucking industry alone and military mentors. Just leading by example, just the examples that I've had in the past that showed me the right thing, how to do it.
Man, you're doing good. You're leading me right into my next question. So you're doing good, doing good. So what advice would you give somebody that's transitioning out of the military, a veteran, or somebody's just getting out, about the trucking industry?
I always tell people that's the really cool thing about our industry. We are the second largest industry in this country behind agriculture. So we're a very diverse industry. And so do your homework when you're looking at getting into this trucking industry. And more than likely, you're going to find something that's going to be a good fit for you, a good fit for your family. So, all three of us have found something that's a good fit for us and our families. So just look around, it's diverse. You're probably going to find something that you really love. And we all heard that saying growing up, if you enjoy what you do, you're never going to work a day in your life. So, just, that's the advice that I would give. Just look around and find something that's going to be a good fit for you. Just, there's so many veterans in our industry and so many that I know that have made that transition so easily. So it's just been a good fit for a lot of veterans.
Yeah, it has. It has. And that kind of reminds me, I had a friend of yours on a couple episodes ago, Ralph, and Ralph Garcia. And he said something that has stuck with me. And I brought it out on another podcast. I'm going to keep bringing it out because he said that he realized at the end of the day, when his job was done, he knows that he's done something good. So,
Yes.
and I guess, that's one way to put that, is discipline and professionalism. How do those go hand in hand, and how has the military helped you with discipline and professionalism?
It's you always think about that all the time. That's one thing you get pounded in your head when you serve is attention to detail. Just barracks inspections, and you're getting inspected all the time on readiness and all these different things. But I actually learned that even before I decided to get into the trucking industry, the people that serve especially in the Army or Marine Corps, you learn how to PMCS a vehicle, preventative maintenance care system. So it's you have your manual, and it just walks you basically through your pre-trip. So how many times when you're sitting around there, they want you to get busy and PMCS that vehicle private. So it's like you get that out. That's how I learned how to do my first pre-trips. But just that attention to detail just translate right over to the trucking industry when you're doing your pre-trip and checking your equipment every day. And I met one of our guys that was on our ABF road team. He when he was in the Marine Corps, he was a mechanic and he worked on Marine One, and so he was responsible for the president flying on Marine One every day. So he said, I take that same attention to detail and I apply that every day when I check my equipment. It's the same thing when you're out there sharing the road with the motoring public. It's that attention to detail. But I think a lot of us picked up on that in the military, and it translated right over into the trucking industry. But just the sense of pride you feel when you serve, I still feel that when I'm out there representing my company and our industry every day. Just my appearance, it just that never left me after getting out of the military.
Nate, I'm going to step off into something that is near and dear to all three of our hearts, and that's ABF and America's Road Team. You're on both. So what does that mean to you to represent ABF as a road team captain?
I think we're all proud of who we work for, and that's the neat thing when you go out and do these events with America's Road Team. You're usually working with other road team captains, and I've learned a lot about a lot of other companies, but ABF gave me an opportunity to come to work for them over 22 years ago, and I know we're going to talk about that too. But that's one of the things that attracted me to ABF was that they support the truck driving championships. I was already competing when I drove for Shamrock Foods, so I knew that was something that that ABF supported. So unfortunately I tried to get on with ABF about the same time Consolidated Freightways went out of business, and it took me 2 years to get on with ABF. I didn't think they were ever going to hire me. they were hiring all these old CF drivers that had 2-3 million miles of no accidents, and they were straight up with me. It's like, guys, we want to hire you, Nate. It's a matter of time. Be patient with us. But I was starting to give up on them. So I think it just means that much more to me now because I waited so long to get on with ABF that they gave me this opportunity to work for them. And I guess I should kind of put this back on you guys. When you both went to work for American Freightways, did you ever imagine the kind of career that you would have? I knew about America's Road Team, but just that was something that was years down the road. I never thought that I would have these kind of opportunities. You look at the things that you've been able to do since you got on America's Road Team, and it just blows my mind. And I've had all these opportunities because ABF gave me a chance to work for them, and they've supported my road team events over the years. They still do. I'm still getting opportunities as a road team captain, but it's just so cool when you think about the opportunities that you've had since you started with your companies.
Oh, exactly. And I know the weight you're talking about. It took me 5 months to get on with AF, and the gentleman that hired me, he says, how am I going to stop you from calling me every week? I said, hire me. And he hired me, and I didn't talk to him for 3 months. And then he caught me at one of our Lincoln, Illinois terminals. He says, you never call me. I said, that's a good thing. If you don't have to call me, I'm doing my job, so you don't have to do your job. But how did you become involved in the safety outreach and education that led you to trying to be a road team captain?
So it probably goes back to when I worked for Shamrock Foods. I was on a safety committee where we didn't rule on accidents, but the safety committee I was on with 2 other senior drivers, and so when a driver would get a letter for an accident, we would get together and look these accidents over every month, and maybe make a recommendation to what the driver could have done different, maybe with a lot of preventable accidents,
Right.
mainly. So I learned a lot from those senior drivers, just when we look over these accidents. And then a friend of mine taught me into the truck driving championships. And it's funny how things just kind of snowball from there. You get involved in the truck driving championships and then road team. And it's just, you just opportunities create other opportunities for you as far as safety, and people in your safety department get to know you, and it's like, hey, you thought about doing this, and then you're getting asked to do different things here and there, and so yeah, it just kind of goes from there. But that's kind of where it started for me.
I'm going to make a statement from a mutual friend of ours, and that's Alfonso Lewis. You remember on his Share the Road portion of the video, he talked about the gators, the tires, and the gator will reach up and grab you. When you get into this industry and you start doing the TDCs and getting involved in that, I'm gonna play on his words. It reaches out and it grabs you,
Yes.
and it puts you down that straight path, because you want to promote it, you want to do everything. Tell us a little bit about the process of becoming an America's Road Team captain.
So you have to be with ABF for 5 years to be eligible for our company road team. And that's one thing that ABF has always tried to do, is emulate the whole process that we go through when we go to selection for America's Road Team. So you're allowed to be on our company road team up to 3 times. So I first got on our company road team in 2010, and Tony Sapiro was my mentor on our company road team. So with us, it's a peer vote instead of a panel of judges. So you do your presentation in front of everybody, your mock media interview, your personal interview in front of each other, and you vote on each other. So at the time, there's 12 of us on the ABF road team. And so 6 out of the 12 that we vote on submit applications for America's Road Team. So I was luckily one of the 6, and then ATA, they make their selection when they start their process. They chose 4 of us. So it was me, David Boyer, Tim McElwaney, and Chad Miller. So we went to selection in 2011, and me being the youngest out of the 4, Steve Fields was my mentor when I went to selection for America's Road Team, and Ralph Garcia worked with us before we got there. So I just had 3 really good mentors along the way. But I went into it just expecting not to make the team, because I was the youngest out of the 4 of us.
Right.
So I thought, however this goes, at this point in time, I'm one of the 34 best drivers in this country. So
Right.
I get this opportunity to come do this. I'm just going to have fun with it. And I took the same approach that a lot of us take with the truck driving championships. I just wanted to be as prepared as I could be and just get there and enjoy the process, have fun with it. And I knew when I didn't make it, I was going to handle it gracefully and not burn any bridges, and hopefully have the opportunity to come back again. But
Yes, sir.
I still don't know how it happened, but that's the first time they picked 3 people from ABF to be on America's Road Team, and I was one of the 3. So I got right through on my first try. I was the youngest person on my team. Everybody thought it was Dion Saez, because Dion has that young look about him, and you guys know Dion real well. And
Oh yeah.
so Dion's about a year older than I am, but just every team has so many good people. But just the 18 of us that were selected on my team, just there's still a few of us that are active and still working. But
Yes, sir.
you guys hear it all the time. It's a stressful process, and so I thought, man, I'm just going to go have fun with this and see how it turns out. And then I was pleasantly surprised.
You've dropped so many names there that I've had the privilege to know and work with, and it just warms my heart sitting here knowing that I know these professional individuals. Tell us how would somebody get a road team event from ATA if you're out and about or whatever, and they want to get a truck, or kind of tell us how that works.
So I think you can go to their website. I think it's ata.org, if I can remember right. But Serena Barnes and Nikki Thomas are the 2 contacts that you would get a hold of now if you were looking to request a captain. And sometimes you can go through your state association. You contacts with your state association as well. And so, yeah, that would be the best people to get a hold of through American Trucking Associations.
Right, right. And that's trucking.org.
Yes, sir.
Trucking.org will take you to ATAs. And that is S Barnes at trucking.org. S Barnes at trucking.org. Give her an email and she'll set you right up. Let's see. Where am I at here? Okay, there we go. What qualities do you believe are essential for anyone wanting to become America's road team captain?
I think a lot of us, are kind of the cream of the crop with our companies, and I think that's how I got on the radar, was competing in the truck driving championships. People getting to know me already, but just I think some of the qualities are having a professional attitude and being positive all the time, just having that can-do attitude, and the want to represent our industry, to be a good ambassador. And like I talked about earlier, leading by example, just getting out there and being a positive light for our industry, just the want to do that. But I think how I got there is just being patient and courteous when I drive on the road. I think that leads to a lot of other things, but just being able to share that. And I've always looked at it that way. I'm definitely not the end all be all for a representative or an ambassador for the industry, but just wanting to do that, just being able to speak for people that may not feel comfortable doing that. So we've all met so many good drivers. Some of the best people I've ever met have been in this trucking industry, and maybe some of them don't feel comfortable in front of a camera or getting up in front of a room full of people, because we're used to driving trucks every day, not not being in front of people. And it's neat to think about how much I've grown since I got on the road team, just being able to do things I didn't think I would ever do. And people always kind of laugh at me when I tell them, when I was growing up, I was a shy kid in class. I was extroverted and just, didn't, wasn't very outgoing, but just, I believe in this industry so much that, if there's a way that I can show our drivers in a positive light, I'm going to do the best job that I can. So just, I think having that want to be able to do that.
Right. Exactly. And, you go down the road, talk on the CB radio, you're worldwide, and then stand in front of a crowd of people. It's a little different there. But other than meeting me, what was your most memorable experience in serving on America's Road Team? Tim is about to bust up on that one.
Well, Steve, you're right. Nobody is ever going to forget you.
Amen, brother. Amen. And that goes back to getting on America's Road Team. Just be yourself.
So I had to think on this a little bit, because you just have so many neat experiences. And I think a lot of us will agree, probably one of the most rewarding things you get to do is when you go out to schools and talk to teen drivers through Share the Road. You're giving those young people in education and hopefully information that's going to save one of their lives someday. But probably one of the most rewarding things that happened for me came in a way that I didn't really ever expect. And I got started in Wyoming competing, because when I started with ABF, I worked out of Cheyenne, Wyoming. So I competed in the Wyoming Truck Driving Championships. So one of the first events I got to do as a new captain was speak at their awards banquet for their truck driving championships, and got the opportunity a few times. But that's one thing I always try to do when I speak at a TDC banquet, is encourage the drivers to come back again next year. It's like, maintain eligibility, get back to compete next year. But I don't only want to see you come back. I want to see you bring somebody with you, because that's how I got here. Right. One of my friends pestered me all winter to talk me into competing in the truck driving championships. So you always make it a point to thank the drivers, their families, that support chain that we have from our companies and families. That's how we're able to do this. So one year I was able to, about a month before the Wyoming Truck Driving Championships, I went to their convention and spoke at an awards banquet for fleet safety awards. And so I recognized a driver there that I saw from the Truck Driving Championships. He was there with the safety manager that was getting an award. And I said, "Hey man, am I going to see you at the TDCs next month?" And he's like, "I don't know." He said, I'm not sure if I'm going to do it this year." And so I said, "Man, I'm going to be there again this year. So man, it'd be great to see you." I didn't have a lot of time to talk to him because I was just getting ready to go up and speak. And so I
Right.
encouraged him to compete. So about a month later, there he was competing, and he was in the 5-axle tank class. And so I was able to speak at the TDC banquet again that year. And one of the things that Wyoming always has you do is you stand up there and you give out the awards to the top three, and it's pretty cool. They get a belt buckle like a real rodeo. So when you get first place, you get a belt buckle from Wyoming Silversmith. And so you're standing up there, and top three come up and call his name. He wins his class. So he comes up there and he's just got tears running down his face. And it's we all get pretty excited when you win or you do well. And this guy's standing next to me as they're taking pictures, and I can physically hear him like sobbing.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, this guy is really moved by this. And so at the end of the evening, when everybody was saying their goodbyes and leaving the room, he came up to me. He said, "Nate, can I talk to you for a minute?" And so he pulled me to the side and he said, "Hey, the reason I wasn't going to compete this year was because I lost my wife about 3 months ago to cancer, and I didn't think I could do it this year without her." He said, "It was because of you. You encouraged me to compete this year." He said, "So I'm going to go to the National Truck Driving Championships in Minneapolis, and I'm going to do this for my wife. But I just wanted you to know that." And it's like, man, he about had me in tears. I'm like, oh my gosh, just getting up there and encouraging people. And you guys are probably the same way when you're speaking in front of a group. You're always looking around. It's like, what are these people thinking?
Yeah.
Luckily I've never caught anybody looking at their watch or anything like that. But you always wonder if your message resonates with people. But just that guy telling me that, it's like, that's something I will never forget. Just by me encouraging him to be there. And so, people are getting our message, whatever kind of event we're doing.
Yeah, I spoke at the Fargo, North Dakota TDC, and she kind of sprung that on me first thing that morning, and she said just 7-8 minutes, and the only thing I could really do was two quick things: is tell them, hey, what at the end of the night, 9 people's going to Pittsburgh, and but all of you are winners. Every one of you are winners for being here. And then the before I closed it, I said, I want to ask y'all to do a favor. And I said, that is our support team. Husbands, wives, brothers, sisters, children. Let's give them a round of applause. Oh my gosh. I think they woke up the hotel next door. But those are the quality things that you want to tell them. But well, thank you, sir. Tim's got some questions for you now.
All right.
Nate, I was wanting to get into safety and outreach a little bit, but I think I really want to just jump on down here and talk to you more about your experience with Reese Across America, because I'm looking at the clock too, so I'm seeing where we're at. So I'm trying to keep us all on track. And this train don't need to run off the track for sure. So you've participated in Reese Across America tour. What was that experience like? Can you kind of paint a picture for us?
So you guys probably remember this a little bit. And luckily I got to go with Ralph Garcia the first time, and he had been the year before with Eddie Hosegood. And so we picked the truck up at Wayne Crowder's place in Louisville and drove all the way up to Maine to get loaded with our wreaths. So we had a couple days to talk about it, and Ralph was kind of trying to give me an idea what to expect. And we decided to document the trip, and it was kind of neat. There's always that battle between iPhones and Androids, just Android people and iPhone people. So we kind of found out that my phone, my Android, takes better pictures, and Ralph did better with the videos. So we kind of split the responsibilities documenting this trip, and it was neat to see how many people were following what we were doing from Columbia Falls, Maine, all the way down to Arlington, but just trying to show people what we were doing along the way. And one of my friends, John Gibson, out of West Virginia, his wife is a school teacher, Kathy, and said, "Could our class follow your trip?" So because some of these kids in West Virginia, they're some of them they've never even been out of the county before. So kind of not a very wealthy school, and a lot of the kids were a little underprivileged. So she's like, I want my class to follow your trip. So we started documenting the trip just through pictures and video, just showing people what we were doing every day. But I don't think the pictures and videos do it justice. Just the having that experience of doing that in person. And Elizabeth talked about that, how she didn't even fully understand why we want to keep going back and doing that all the time, because it's just such a heartfelt experience having Gold Star family members ride in the truck with you every day and share their stories about their sons and daughters and husbands and wives, about the time from they were little boys or little girls wanting to serve, and their time in service, and actually how they lost their lives. And it's a very emotional trip. But just to me as a veteran, it touched my heart so much just to be able to do that and be a part of that. But just we tried to share that with people as much as we could. But the escort makes a different route every year, so you have different stops every time. So it was really neat, just all the places we've been able to go and meet local veterans. Just the people that I got to meet doing that is just something I'll never forget.
Yeah, yeah, and I remember going myself personally several times to Arlington Cemetery, and it's such a reverent place. When you walk onto the grounds, you're walking onto a sacred place there. And what does it mean to you personally as a veteran that that people do this to honor the ones that have fallen?
Well, I think about good friend of mine that I played high school football with, and he lost his life in Iraq in 2007. So I think about people like my friend Shane Becker, Staff Sergeant Shane Becker. He's not at Arlington, but just when you get a chance to meet those families and you see what that means to them, it's just you're making sure that they're never forgotten, and that's really important to them when you place that wreath and you say that person's name. And the first time that I made that trip to Arlington, I'm a little embarrassed to say I don't, out of the 405,000 grave sites there, I don't know anybody that was buried at Arlington. But you start meeting those families that have family members that are there, and that's one of the things they told us. If you don't know who that person is, take the time to research them, figure out who they were when they served, just learn that person's story. But you find out how important that is to the families that you're honoring them, and it's not just a wreath, it's what that wreath means. So to me, that was probably the most valuable load that I've ever pulled. Just you think of all the thousands of loads that you've pulled and delivered, but just what that means, just in time to, the manufacturing facility might have to stop production if you don't show up with something that they need that day. But just emotionally, what that load signifies and what that means to those families, it just means so much to be a driver in that escort.
Yeah, yeah. Is there any moments or any family members that really made an impact on you during that tour?
Well, you meet so many of these families, but a lady named Dolly Sullivan comes to mind for me. Her and her son Jim, they lost their son Captain Christopher Sullivan in Iraq, but she was riding along with Ralph, and Ralph would do these interviews with the Gold Star families, and he would make me cry every time. And Ralph, he'd be looking at me, man, what is wrong with you? I'm like, man, I can't help it. It's like I'm so moved by these family stories. But so Dolly shared the story about her son Christopher. One time he was little, he wanted to be a naval aviator, and he got his dreams crushed by a real aviator because he was wearing glasses. It's like, well, you wear glasses, you're never going to be able to be a Navy pilot. So he went down a different road, and he got into Army engineering. He got his commission, and he was serving in Iraq, and they got some reports that there was an IED on a bridge. So him and some of his men went out to inspect the bridge, and when they were on the bridge, they detonated the explosion. So he lost his life, and his mother was sharing the story with us. And I thought everything was all good and all done with the story, and I'm drying my tears after this. So we're driving to an elementary school, and I'm driving the share of the road truck at the time, and we pull in this parking lot, and she reaches down into her purse, and she said, "This came home with Christopher's belongings." And it was a little card of a poem. It's called "Across My Pocket." And it really hit home for me because I carry this in my wallet. You can see how wore out this thing is.
Yeah.
It's sort of worn out around the edges, and I'm not going to read the whole poem. We don't have time for that, but just it's a reminder that you're a Christian wherever you may be. But on the back of this, my girlfriend at the time, Tiffany, wrote a note to me, and she gave this to me before I deployed. And so when Dolly got that out of her purse and said that came home with Christopher's belongings, it's like, I just lost it.
Yeah.
It's like, man, that just hit home so much, just, what my parents were feeling when I deployed as an 18-year-old. But it really hits home hearing these stories, about from these Gold Star families.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell you, it's, you telling me that is just kind of hitting home with me right now that, these families carry that the rest of their lives, for sure. And, and what makes it important to honor our nation's veteran in this way? What makes it important? What would you tell people that makes it important?
It was kind of neat. Elizabeth asked me that question the other day when I was talking to her with
I
the
promise I didn't copy her.
with the 250th anniversary of our country. You just look throughout time, just all the wars and conflicts that we've been involved in. That's part of our history. It's like, I think any country has a difficult history becoming what it is today. And I know all of us were such proud Americans, and I think about the sacrifices that were made, over time to get this country to where it is right now. And I don't ever want to forget that. Just people that served. And then when you see what that means to families, that their family members are never forgotten, but just that sacrifice to get us to protect our freedoms, our liberties as Americans, it's just, I don't ever want to forget that. So, that's one thing I always want to share with other people, and that message of Wreaths Across America, to remember, honor, and teach,
Yeah.
teaching that next generation what sacrifice means.
Right, right. And I'll tell everybody, if you really want to do something for these families and for the fallen, just go buy a $17 wreath,
Yes.
wreathsacrossamerica.org. That's all you got to do. And anyway, Nate, I'm going to let Steve, he's got a couple questions he's going to ask you. We're in the post-trip part of the show, brother. Can you believe that? We got a post-trip to show.
Yeah, you tried to warn me.
Yeah. Go ahead, Steve.
This hour flies by. It's not like driving an ABF or a FedEx freight. We can motor down the highway slow, but let's get into TDCs. And Nate, thank you for everything you just talked about. Wreaths Across America. It's. I was never military, but I got two kids that is in the military. My son-in-law is, and it's near and dear to my heart. But anyhow, talk a little bit about your TDC. Kind of give us how'd you get into it? What kind of luck have you had? And I say luck because that's all I got's luck. But just kind of go into that a little bit for us, would you?
So, like I said, when I was at Shamrock Foods, a good friend of mine that I used to run with, I had a Casper, Wyoming bid. I ran that out of Denver, and some of my friends, he was competing in the truck driving championships, and he bugged me all winter, but I was so afraid that I was going to embarrass myself. He said, "Look, Nate, I will show you what to study, what to practice." And he set up practice courses for me and pre-trips. And so the first year I got into it in 2000, when I was a rookie, that was my goal, was just not to be last. But that's kind of what drove me, was just, I didn't want to embarrass myself. But I competed in Wyoming to begin with, and I was lucky enough to win my first year. So I was a rookie in 2000. The National Truck Driving Championships were in New Orleans, and I got hooked right away. And being with a food service company, they compete in a organization. It's called IFTA, International Food Distributors Association. So not only did I compete in the ATA National Truck Driving Championships, but every October they have IFTA, and it's a big food show and truck driving championships. It's with U.S. and Canadian food service companies. Right. So Eric Ramsdale. He drove out of our Phoenix division for Shamrock. So that's when I met Eric, was my rookie year. So we competed in those competitions together. And that's kind of what drew me to ABF when I was looking to get out of food service. I needed to find something that was easier on the body with that kind of work. It's like everything's floor loaded on those trucks. You touch every piece, you're up and down that ramp. You don't bump docks. So it's like I was 31 years old. I felt like an old man already. So that's kind of what drew me to ABF, is I needed to find something easier on the body, and I wanted to keep competing in the truck driving championships. So
right
here I am 26 years later. I have my competition this next Saturday, and I've been blessed to make it to the National Truck Driving Championships 10 times as a competitor.
awesome.
And I got to go 3 times as a road team captain and be a course announcer. So,
awesome.
I got hooked that first year, and it just makes us want to come back every year. In 2024, I finished 6th place, best I'd ever driven at nationals. I drove a 220, and you guys know JB Quarles out of South Carolina. He snuck past me, won the vehicle condition award, and I just missed driving in the finals. And so that's the best I've done. So I still have a lot of goals when it comes to the TDCs, and I was a 5-time state champion in Wyoming and 5 in Colorado now. So
Nice.
I hope to get back there again.
Congratulations. And you talked about JB Quarles. I don't care if it's JB or who it is, Eric, me, Ralph. If you don't do good, you don't hate the individual, you hate the course or the pre-trip or the book, So, but anyway, I think Tim's got a ending question there, and we got to wrap up the show. Like you said, it's post-trip time.
Yeah, we got to put this one to bed for sure and get it ready for the next Truckers Voices. But I got one last fun question for you, and then we'll close it out. So if you could take one dream trucking road trip, anywhere in the North America, with no deadlines, no traffic, perfect weather, where would you go, and who would be riding shotgun?
Well, just speaking about Race Across America, I already made that dream trip, and I was blessed enough to be on the escort to Arlington 4 different times. So the years that I did that, I was away for almost 2 weeks, and I told Tiffany, don't get me anything for Christmas, because this is a gift in itself to be able to do this. So I already got to make my dream trip, but if I were to do it again, I think the person that I would want to ride with me is Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Oh,
After studying that Facts for Drivers book, and not only would I like him to ride with me to see how his dream came true with the interstate system, the roads that we get to enjoy every day, but just seeing this nationwide network of roads that was his idea. But I'd also like to pick his brain about his military experience, just being a lieutenant colonel right after World War I, and being General Eisenhower and eventually becoming our president. But just I always wanted to know what his thoughts were on General Patton and General MacArthur. I'd like to pick his brain on about the military part of it too. So I think he would be, a dream passenger for me to visit with and pick his brain on things.
Yeah, good answer. I like that, and that tells me that you're in the book for sure. And anyway, well, thank you for coming on Truckers Voices and sharing with us. We're going to close this out with a word of safety and advice, and we always let our guests go first, and then I'll go, and then Steve's going to close this out. So what would be your word of safety and advice to the people out there listening that's trucking right now?
So my message is always pretty simple. It's like, put that seatbelt on. It's one of the easiest and quickest things that you can do to ensure that you make it to that final destination safely.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's going to, almost wrap it up for another Truckers Voices. Nate McCarty, thank you for coming on and sharing with us, and we'll have to have you back in the future for sure. And but anyway, for me, I'm going to tell everybody, you know what? After you listen to this, it should be somewhere around Friday or wherever you're traveling to. But y'all just got to make sure that you look out for those who aren't looking out for themselves. See you on the next Truckers Voices.
As we wrap Yep. Thank you, Nate. As we wrap up tonight's episode of Truckers Voices, we want to extend a heartfelt thank you to our special guest, Nate McCarty, for taking the time to join us and share his story, his experiences, and insights with our listeners. We appreciate you being part of the show and helping us celebrate the people who keep America moving. We'd also like to take this time and thank our sponsor, Patrick Laurel, for supporting Truckers Voices. Be sure to check out Patrick's music on Bandcamp and search Fulton County Old Country Show to discover some great independent country music. Thanks to everyone who tuned in on Facebook, YouTube, and your favorite podcast platforms. If you enjoyed tonight's conversation, please like, share, follow, and tell a friend about Truckers Voices. Until next time, stay safe, keep the shiny side up, the greasy side down, and remember, for Tim Taylor, I'm Steve Brand. The most important trip is the trip home, and every trucker has a story. Every story has a voice that matters. Good night. God bless. Truck safe, y'all.
Trees line the roadside, the sun shines in the grass. Hilly hill behind me, another overpass. Loading out Abilene, headed to the coast. The freedom of the 4-lane is the thing I love the most. 18 wheels take me through rain and sleet and snow. 13 gears will pull me anywhere I want to go. Sometimes I wonder if it's worth it, but I know there's a lot of people out there that are counting on my load.